Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 34 of the Creative Cast, and Merry Christmas, everybody. We are in the thick of the holiday season. I think we have about a week and a half before Christmas arrives, and all the awesome things that come with that. And for all the podcasters out there who double as their own editors, I feel you and I see you. I am right there with you because I know that we're all trying to get our episodes ready so that we can spend some time this holiday season, hanging out with our family, enjoying the season, all that good stuff. So hang in there, y'all. We're almost there. I really feel that's a message for me. Like, hang in there. So like I mentioned last week, today's episode is with my friends from the Storytellers Live podcast, Robyn, Kown, and Lindy Walker. Our friend Katie, who was also one of the hosts of the show, was not able to be a part of the interview, but we certainly missed her not being there. So if you're not sure who the ladies of the Storytellers podcast are, you haven't listened to the show, well, friend, you're missing out. You need to start listening to it. Their podcast is all about everyday women sharing personal stories of God's love. Now, some of these stories are profound, some are just emotional, and there have been more than one time that while I listened to the show, because they're friends, they're also clients, and I also edit for them, where I have been just a hot mess listening, the tears just streaming down my face. But many of these stories are relatable and they are shared with such honesty and funny. All of these stories really show us what God can do in our lives when we trust Him with the details. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Robyn and Lindy. I have with me the fabulous ladies of Storytellers Live. Now, normally it would be all three of them, but we have Robyn and Lindy with us today, and Katie is in our thoughts and prayers. Her daughter had an accident and is recovering, and so Katie's doing her mama thing and with them. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thanks. We're
happy to
happy.
be here.
We're happy to be here.
This is awesome. I've wanted to have you guys on the show for a while. I'm super excited that this is happening today, that you guys are on the show, because you guys have been doing the podcast for what, 4 or 5 years now?
5 years. We're in the 5th year. We're in our 5th season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You guys are getting close to episode 200.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
Yes.
You're
at
like at 165,
165, I think.
I should know this.
That's why this is so fun, because you know us better
Yes.
than we know ourselves.
So true.
I have all the bloopers. And there may or may not be a file somewhere in my computer.
Right.
There maybe should be.
For those of you who don't know what Storytellers Live is, I don't know who doesn't know, but you never know. Tell us a little bit about the podcast and what you guys each do for the Storytellers ministry itself.
Well, Storytellers really started almost 6 years ago now. It started before the podcast was officially a podcast. And the idea was just to have a gathering of women. This is Robyn speaking. And it was to have a gathering of women in my den. And it was kind of a small group for our community where every week one woman shared her story. Mm-hmm. And it was as simple as that. But what happened is we had a friend who reached out and said, "Hey, I would love to record this." And I thought, well, go right ahead. I have no idea what you're talking about or how to do this. So for an entire year, we recorded every single story and just sent them out via email. We put them on SoundCloud. And because all of you are podcasters, you will appreciate this. We put them on SoundCloud and sent a link. And after a year, there was so much traction and people listening, and then cities reaching out saying, "Hey, we want to do this Storytellers thing," that it was like, "Oh, you do? Okay, well, let's figure out where we are and how to do this." So after 1 year of emailing links to stories, we uploaded everything to Apple and officially created a podcast. That's really how it all began. And now here we are 5 years later,
So now the Storytellers Live Ministry, we kind of think of it, we have, 3 areas. We have the podcast, we have our live gatherings, which currently we have community teams in 8 cities, stretching from Texas all the way to Georgia. We've also produced a Bible study, When God Shows Up. We have a Discover Your Story curriculum that Robyn wrote. Katie wrote When God Shows Up. And we're working on our second Bible study, which is going to be centered around stories of freedom. So we're excited about not only the podcast, but the ministry as a whole.
And I love everything about Storytellers. From the very first time I listened, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. You've been with us a while.
And every week, I'm just amazed at the depth of these stories. Some of them, I have to stop editing because I'm crying. I can't even see the screen. I gotta stop because they're just so amazing. I can't even pick a favorite because there's so many. There's so many really good ones. I have to say, I just love what you ladies are doing. I love the stories that you guys are sharing.
Well, we always like your feedback, Tammy. I like to hear which stories, speak to you. And, that's the fun thing about Storytellers is it's something different for everyone.
Right.
It's relatable on so many levels.
For me, it's that thread that weaves through each and every single one that I've listened to. And I think I started around episode 70 something. And I see it each and every week. God is just right there going ahead of whoever is telling their story. And that's the one thing that I love about what you guys do. And the study guides, y'all, if you have not done this, you need to go and get it. I've done it. It was phenomenal. Go over there to their website at storytellerslive.org and get that today. Let's go back to the beginning of all of this. Lindy, how did you and Katie get involved with all of this?
So as you know, Robyn is the founder of Storytellers Live, and Robyn and I had a mutual friend, Dawn Curtis, who was on the Storytellers team for several years. She actually introduced the two of us. So I was actually speaking and telling my story of breast cancer and speaking at a local church here in Birmingham at a women's event. And Robyn came to hear it. And people had come up to me in our city, our home city of Vestavia, and said, "Do you know Robyn Kown?" No. "Do you know what she's doing? She's like meeting in her home." No, I don't know, Robyn. But through this event, we met each other, and Robyn said, "You have got to tell your story to our Storytellers group." And so I loved it so much. I often say that I just never left, and I kept coming to Robyn's house and I wouldn't leave. So she allowed me to be on the team, and here we are. So from that, I just started helping them more on the nonprofit business side, working with donors, getting donor receipts out, kind of establishing some administrative processes. And then a year later, when Robyn really felt called to write a Bible study, I said, I've got one of my really good friends who has led my personal Bible study for many years, Katie Dunn. And so Robyn and Katie clicked, and Katie agreed to write the Bible study for Storytellers. And so she's been a part of the team.
And then she stuck around
for 2 years. And about that time, Kelly Brown was rolling off as our first podcast host. And Robyn said, "Hey, the three of us need to take this over and be the host of the podcast." So that was back in 2020, January of 2020. So 2 years ago.
Yes.
And that's when we met you, Tammy.
That's when, because really to back up, our original podcast had our friend, the girl who wanted to record the first episode. She taught herself how to do everything. And so Kelly was our host. If you listen back, probably the first
50 episodes,
50,
maybe.
60 episodes, it's Kelly. And then when she walked away, she edited, she did the whole thing, and we were in a panic.
Yeah.
And we said, "God, what do we do?" And along came Tammy, and along came the three of us. He said, "You need to do this.
Yeah.
Y'all are the voice of the podcast."
And I love the intro and the outro with you guys because it's just so much fun. And you could tell that you guys are having fun with it.
You definitely have fun.
Well, and that's the hope, is that when you listen, it's a little different than other podcasts. And because it's not about us, it's about the storyteller. And then we just sit like we're having coffee. So usually we are. And we just discuss the story.
And I can't believe it's been 2 years. Like, that's just,
I know.
and through the pandemic and everything. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you were doing these live in-person things. The pandemic comes along. You don't want all these people coming in your house that may or may not have COVID as much as you love them and want to see them. So how did you pivot? How did you guys pivot to continue going along with stories?
Yeah, originally all of our stories came from live gatherings. All of our cities record all of their stories and send them to us. But at the time, it's funny how God works, because we had been having discussions, as Tammy can attest, the sound is not always great, especially coming from other cities where it's out of your control. And so we've been talking about having them re-record their stories. How can we have better sound? Or how can we have storytellers that aren't in these 8 cities? You know, like we have friends and different people. And so, of course, when the pandemic hit, we were very fortunate to have a bank of stories that got us through a few months while we really prayed about what to do. And then we said, well, this is our opportunity. Let's go back and re-record some that had really poor sound that we wanted to use. And then let's just start asking our friends and people whose stories we want to hear. And Tammy, you were one of the very first ones, I think, after when the pandemic hit, for us to say, you want to share your story? We know it's amazing.
Absolutely.
And so it's really ended up being, I don't know, we've loved being able, now that we're back in live gatherings, to mix the two. We still have stories from live gatherings, but we have a number of stories that we record that are not from live gatherings.
So if you guys want to listen to my story on Storytellers, I believe it's episode 108. I'll put the link in the show notes for you guys. But that was such a unique experience for me. For those of you that have not listened yet, I told the story about my daughter and the miracles that we've witnessed with her, 2 of them. And it was such a unique opportunity because I've never really shared that story publicly outside of people who know me and kind of walk through that time with us. And just to be able to share that. But it was such a good thing. And then there was one lady in particular that I think, Robyn, you had sent me and said, this made such a difference for me. And that was all that I needed to know. So the amount of people that you guys are helping, I can't even begin to fathom what that number is.
We have really, it is amazing. It's funny that you use the word, the one person, because so many times if we feel like things are too much or there's too much on the to-do list or we feel overwhelmed, we always come back to the one. And we always just say, if this helps one woman, whoever, wherever, then that is what Storytellers is about. However, we have been amazed at how God has connected women, because it is about women saying, this spoke to me, and how can I get in touch with that person? Or someone going up to a storyteller and saying, wow, I heard your story. Could you meet with me? Katie Dunn, who her story is about parenting and kind of releasing our children to God. There are still women. She went last week walking with somebody who just needed an ear about a parenting struggle. And so because of Storytellers, they reached out to Katie. And so it's that is what we love to hear.
Now, I know there's so many great episodes, 165 of them. But is there an episode that really speaks to you, that really speaks to your heart, or one that you remember really, really well?
You know, I love that question because so many of every story speaks to people differently. And one, even on the team, and this is me being really transparent, one of us will go, oh my gosh, this story was amazing. And the other's like, I mean, yeah, it was fantastic, but it didn't speak to me like it spoke to you. And that's the Holy Spirit. Really, like Katie called us this week. Y'all, the story we're about to record that Tammy, you'll get very soon. She was like, I mean, I think it's my favorite story ever. And Lindy and I were like, oh, it's great. But God used it to speak to Katie. And so for me, there is a definite one where it was almost like a prophetic word over my life, honestly. And that was when Sophie Hudson shared. And she talked about the story of a robin walking down her driveway.
I distinctly remember that one.
And when she said she was telling this story of a bird walking down her driveway. And when she said the word robin, I was like, this story, I'm the one. This story is for me. It took my breath away. And I reached out to her afterwards and was like, I have got to talk to you about this because the Lord used it tremendously in my life. And Lindy, what's yours?
It's hard for me because I don't know that I can say that I have, one favorite episode. Rachel Faulkner Brown comes to mind, episode 97, Your Pain is Your Superpower. Just her resiliency really spoke to me. Again, I think it is so fun that we get to do this because we will have our story list. Everybody knows to come. We call it listened up, be listened up and prepared to record. And as Robyn says, what speaks to me doesn't always speak to them and vice versa. And so again, that's why we love it. It's because it's something for everybody.
I mean, really, for me as a listener and, also your editor, I get so much out of every single week. Like every week there's a nugget in there that I'm like, yeah, that's for me in there somewhere.
We had a story back, I can't remember if it was earlier this season or last season, that we thought the sound is so bad. We have so many concerns. And literally we had to just pray before we released it because we were so uncertain. And it has been one of our most listened to stories ever. It's on marriage. It's the Carlisles.
Oh, that was a really good one.
You remember? Yes.
Yes.
And so, again, it's just all about trusting the Lord and his timing and what he's doing. So
tried to fix the sound on that one for a very long
time.
And finally we just said, you know what, we're just going to have to release it as is, bad sound and all. And God has used it in huge ways.
Obviously as an editor, I'm always like, hey, we got to fix this. We got to do this. We need to make it sound really good. But sometimes, and I tell this to clients and I talk about this on the podcast all the time, is that sometimes it's not about what the audio sounds like. It's the content that's contained within.
Amen. That is so true.
And I find that even though sometimes I'll hear the noise in the background, and as an editor, it may drive me bonkers that I can't remove that. But if I'm listening to what they're saying, I'm getting much more out of that, even though there may be a whole bunch of background noise and dishes and people crying and clapping and
dogs.
Dogs.
Papers rustling or whatever it may be. But it's more about the content. And that's what I love that I get each and every week from Storytellers. So let's do some fun questions, some non-traditional questions. I'm not going to throw anything difficult at you, trust me. Okay, so fun questions. All right. What is your Enneagram number? Do you know?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, we know.
We know.
I am a 7, a very strong textbook 7 for sure. Katie functions every day as a 9, but if I can tell y'all a secret, she has a lot of 1. She's a 1 at work, which we need, and that's good.
And then I'm a 9, but I have a strong 8 wing. And
Robyn's an 8 at work.
Katie and I operate very differently, even though we're both 9s.
Yeah. I'm an 8 with a strong 7 wing.
I like it.
So I love the Enneagram, and I blame Allie Worthington for all of that because I just went down the rabbit hole started talking about it on the podcast. And I'm like, ooh, what's that? I need to find out more about that.
It has changed my life for sure.
Yeah, when I found out Allie Worthington was a 7, I was like, wow, I can do something. I've got hope.
7s are awesome. 7s are fun.
A productive 7.
But we do laugh. We're like, we need a 3 on our team.
Yes, definitely.
We're a whole lot of fun that laughs a lot. And poor Lindy is having to take on the role of structure, which
I have no structure in my life. So
it's all good. It's all good. Okay. So is there any particular favorite TV show or a movie that you're just, this is amazing, I need to tell everybody about the show if they haven't heard about it?
Well, listen, the language on this is terrible. I'm kind of embarrassed to even say this, but my husband and I just finished Only Murders in the Building.
I just started that last night.
Oh my gosh.
Is it good? What's it on?
Phenomenal. Now listen, the language is rough. We do not watch it with our children.
Right.
Even our oldest, we're like, no, sorry. It's so good. So good. It's on Hulu. And that we got Hulu for free for 30 days simply to get the show. And it is we may pay for season 2 because it's so good. So that's my most current non-spiritual answer.
Yes. My non-spiritual will be Yellowstone. It's stirring up things inside of me I haven't felt in so long. No, Yellowstone is, I just love that the scenery and the setting. But yeah, so David and I have been drawn into that.
Yeah. We literally started Only Murders in the Building last night because everybody kept telling me about it.
It's so
And
good.
we're a big fan of Steve Martin and Martin Short, and we watched it with the...
Well, and now I'm a fan of Selena Gomez. Who knew?
Yeah.
Oh,
last
there you
time
go.
I saw it was like the Wizard Show on Disney. You know, when my kids watched Disney Channel.
Yeah, that's right. I knew her at Disney. I lost her during her lost years.
She's back to the vengeance.
But
great.
All four of us loved it. My daughters are 20 and 23, and we all thoroughly enjoyed it. So we're only allowing ourselves to watch one episode a day.
That's the thing. You can't binge it because when it's over, we were sad. No, we were sad. We're like,
you want to pace it. You want to be able to savor it.
Yes.
Outside of Christmas coming, what are you guys really excited about these days?
Like we're wrapping up this week. We're wrapping up 21 from a storyteller standpoint. And so I'm looking forward to unplugging. Mm-hmm. But when I think about all that we have dreamed about and brainstormed for 2022, it really gets me excited. Yes. As long as I stay away from the implementation. But Robyn and I are big visionary dreamer. Mm-hmm. We're very much big picture people. Mm-hmm. We are excited about launching a second Bible study. We're doing some retreats in churches. We have some more speaking engagements. Robyn is developing her Discover Your Story workshop. And so we've really got some big plans for 22 that I'm excited about.
We do. And I think I'm the same. Mm-hmm. I've just been really excited about what's coming. And it's things that we've been dreaming about for a few years that I think are actually coming to fruition this year. And I feel like this upcoming year is going to be a year.
It's going to be big.
Of seeing some dreams come to life. I mean, not that we haven't already seen it, because
absolutely.
Listen, this is far beyond what we could have ever dreamed or imagined what God is doing. But, he continues to give you dreams, and some of those are coming. So it's really exciting.
Well, I am very excited to see what you guys have planned for 2022. Thank you so much for being on the show. Tell everyone where they can find each of you and Storytellers and all that good stuff.
You can find us at storytellerslive.org, and you can get all the things there. You can sign up for our email list. And then on social media, we're Storytellers Live Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And
we're on every podcast outlet that there is.
Yes, all the podcast
anywhere
places.
That you get podcasts, we're there.
Mm-hmm. Storytellers Live.
Thanks to Tammy.
Do you guys want to mention Patreon?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tammy.
That's Katie's job, and Katie's not here.
Yes. Katie runs our Patreon. So Patreon, as you know, because as we are talking to an audience of podcasters, it is our community where you can support our ministry and get some content. So patreon.com/STL community. And so we offer some extra story within the story episodes where you get more from the storytellers, questions that you're probably thinking that you would like to ask. And then Katie does an audio devotion every month on an episode and covers just a deeper dive into scripture through that. So it's been a lot of fun and we've had a great response. So join us on Patreon.
Yes. Follow them on Instagram, listen to the show, comment, rate, review, subscribe, all the things.
Absolutely, please.
All the things.
Yeah.
So, well, ladies, thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been my honor to have you, and I thoroughly enjoyed this so much.
Thanks, Tammy.
We love you. Thank you.
Wasn't that great? Oh, so good. Okay. Now, ladies, next week on the show, I'm going to be kind of wrapping up 2021 and also some things, some trends that I think are going to be really important in 2022. Just some really amazing areas of growth for podcasters. So make sure to listen next week for that. Now, ladies, as always, I believe in your goals, your dreams, and in each and every one of you. Y'all, you're my heroes. And as you know, I believe that having inexperience or production fatigue or being intimidated by technology should not hold you back from accomplishing those goals and dreams that you have, those callings that you have from God. So let's walk through the journey together so that you can spend less time worrying about the details and more time spreading your message and God's word. I hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next Monday. Merry Christmas, y'all. Bye.